Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli, the computer guy, here to give you your daily dose of the RARs as I talk about the stupid things going on in the world of technology so I can earn some money to provide you folks in-person, hands-on, free technology education in Durham, North Carolina. We just had a really cool class on AI and web scraping last night. We're going to be having a class on extending AI capabilities with REST APIs in a couple of weeks. If you're interested, take a look at our schedule at silicondojo.com. If you want to support what I am trying to do, there is a donor box link down below. And now let's get to the stupidity. It's one of those things. It's one of those things as I sit here and I look at this story, I realize sometimes that it's gonna come as a shock, am just not snarky nor harsh enough about this industry I have a passive-aggressive relationship with, right? I sit here and I laugh about tens of thousands of people being laid off, and what I realize is I'm not being mean enough. I really have to drive home the fact that our industry is just full of a bag of dicks. It's just dicks. It's type A, aspy dicks, as far as the eye can see. And so when I talk about the things going on in the technology industry, and you're like, Eli, you're being a little snarky and mean, I want you to understand, I'm not being snarky nor mean enough. And I think the idiocy that we're going to be talking about today is probably going to get worse as we go through this economic disaster that we've, to be clear, have been going through for a long time at this point. So basically, there is VMware. If you don't know VMware creates a virtualization software for the enterprise environment. Basically, they have these things called hypervisors. Hypervisors is where you have your virtual machines, your virtual servers running. You can create these just massive deployments, infrastructure using these virtualized systems. So there's VMware, or there's the hypervisor that I think it's called vSphere. Anyways, there's a hypervisor you put on the physical machines, and then there's a piece of management software you use to manage all of these different physical machines and the virtual machines that go on there. And the thing is, VMware was the go-to choice for virtualization for decades. Right? It costs a little bit of money. Don't get me wrong. It costs a little bit of money. But if you were real, if you actually had a budget, you would just go buy VMware because VMware was pretty darn good. And then Broadcom bought them. Oh my golly. Now what we're finding out is what happens when there is a pretty good product that is the go-to solution for a huge chunk of the industry. Again, I would have recommended VMware. I would have recommended VMware literally with absolutely no snark, right? As long as you can write the check is, it's not horribly high, slightly high, but as long as you can write the check, go buy VMware. It's a good product, right? Well, what we're finding out is what happens when you have a good go-to product in the tech industry, and then Broadcom buys them. And the way that Broadcom has decided to make their business more successful is by simply wringing every fucking dollar out of the customers that are locked into their product as possible. That's the problem with something like VMware, right? This is a infrastructure type play. Once you put this into your systems, they are going to be in your systems forever. So basically, what happens if another company buys your vendor, massively changes the licensing scheme, and then jacks up the price for everything? Basically for equipment or for software that you're locked into. And the curious thing here is what happens to everybody else too. Like when we talk about this, right? It's fun. It's funny to laugh at the CTOs and the CIOs and all the little stupid geeks that have to go around and work 24 hours a day to try to fix the disaster that capitalism created. But one of the interesting questions here is, yeah, but you buy products and services from the company that's currently getting screwed. What happens if major chunks of the infrastructure for the company that you're going to suddenly are no longer usable? That is no longer simply two businesses getting into a pissing match. This is basically a big old crap show. So to be clear here, I do not understand why the federal government has not gotten involved with Broadcom. To be clear, in my opinion, what Broadcom is doing is fucking illegal as shit. What Broadcom is doing, the CEO of Broadcom should be fucking locked in prison for the next 2 fucking decades, right? But for some reason, it's the modern world and it's technology. It's weird. You can do things in the technology business that you literally cannot do anywhere else, right? If there's something going on, if there's a disaster going on, there's a hurricane going on or whatever else, and normally gas is like $2 a gallon, and you run a gas station and you try to sell gas for $6 a gallon, that's price gouging. And you, as a gas station owner, can go to jail. If, on the other hand, you're a technology company that buys another technology company, all of the customers of the first technology company are literally locked into the product. You can just come in and change the licensing scheme and change all the prices and basically put the thumb screws to everybody that trusted the first company, and that is considered capitalism in the modern world. Yes, this is one of the big problems that we currently have in the technology field. So anyways, this is coming from a kind of crap website because the actual story is on Reuters. Reuters are one of these places. It's behind a paywall, so you just go to another site that basically tells you the same information. Anyways, Fidelity unit warns of massive outages across major Fidelity platforms in a new lawsuit unless Broadcom walks back threat to terminate software subscription without price spikes. So understand with this, when you're sitting there looking at this isn't Fidelity. Who the fuck cares about Fidelity? Oh, I'm sorry, big ass Fidelity, I guess you got licensing problems. Well, yeah, as you're gonna learn, it's not just their problems. It's not just their problems. Broadcom Inc., a key Fidelity investment software provider, is threatening to pull the plug on Fidelity's computers 2 months from now, creating a massive blackout for RIAs, clients, and the company itself. The move could also rock financial markets. Fidelity Technology Group asserts in a lawsuit filed November 14th against the multinational designer, developer, and software manufacturer. Quote, unless the court intervenes, Fidelity and its customers will suffer irreparable harm. If Fidelity loses access to the software, the impact on its business would be enormous, the suit states. At stake is a wipeout of all Fidelity service capacity and capabilities, affecting, quote, tens of millions of investors and the financial markets as a whole, well beyond the termination date. Quote, Fidelity's customer contact center would be entirely unreachable by phone, chat, or email, according to the lawsuit filed in Massachusetts Superior Court. Fidelity employees will be unable to access critical internal systems, rendering them incapable of performing their jobs indefinitely, among other impacts. Quote, these disruptions would cause immense harm to Fidelity, its customers, and the financial markets more broadly. And again, think about something, so Fidelity does investments. So again, we're going through an economic kerfuffle, right? I talk about those dominoes falling. And when there's a disaster, there's all kinds of weird shit sliding around. So with everything currently going on, imagine if Fidelity Systems went dark. How do you think the stock market would feel about that? The move is the latest development in a festering contract dispute that began in November 2023 when Broadcom acquired VMware, the maker of software that runs servers at the heart of Fidelity's business. Quote, I think Broadcom very much understands the vital need that Fidelity has for software and now controls, says Ari Sonnenberg, partner of Wagner Law Group of Boston. Quote, I would imagine that Broadcom is at least under the impression that it has the right, based on the terms of the contract, to change the deal that Fidelity struck with VMware. So Fidelity struck a deal with VMware, Broadcom buys VMware and says, well, that's a nice little deal you had with VMware. But we're Broadcom, and so we think we want to renegotiate the deal after all of your systems are built on this VMware products. Quote, based on those notions, Broadcom is probably simply trying to squeeze more money out of Fidelity. So Broadcom is not bringing better quality, it's not bringing better service, it's not actually selling its offering to the customer. It knows its customer is locked into their product, and it is just trying to squeeze every dollar of blood money out of Fidelity as possible. Fidelity's legal pleading did earn an immediate Broadcom concession to extend the drop-dead date to January 21st, 2026 from December 2022. But Fidelity made clear it would need years, not weeks, to switch out the VMware, according to the suit. And that's what I've talked about before, again, with legacy systems, right? Once legacy goes into your infrastructure, even if you want to get rid of it, even if everybody agrees they want to get rid of it, even if you've got the money to get rid of it, it still takes a long time. It still takes a long time, right? Migrations are the worst thing you can do in the technology world, right? New deployments, fucking awesome. It's great. Upgrades, hopefully they go well, depending on your vendors. Hopefully they go well, but they're probably gonna be a little quirky. Again, some sleepless nights, hopefully not too horrible. Migrations, going from one set of systems to an entirely different set of systems is something you never want to do. Never want to do. And yeah, so that's the issue that they're dealing with, right? Quote, Fidelity will be required to reconfigure all of the data out of VMware's proprietary format and the format into the format of the new platform. Given the volume of virtual servers running in Fidelity's data centers, this process would take at least 18 to 24 months, if not longer. And depending on what they're doing, I mean, I don't know how much they have going on, but probably longer than 24 months, right? Just to, because like with a lot of this too, like you have to have systems up and running, like especially with like virtualization, right? You can't, right? Most of the time you move, so you keep the old systems up and running, you spin up new hardware. So new hardware with the new software. So what you're thinking is, oh, just the new software. But really, you probably want new hardware too. New hardware, so basically you can move over so you don't have a lot of downtime. So when you talk about provisioning new hardware, setting up the new hardware, figuring out the data centers, plus then doing the actual work itself for a company the scale of Fidelity, man, 24 months? Like you probably, I don't know, maybe you could do it. And you also have to remember Fidelity's gonna be gun shy as shit after this, right? They already got screwed so fucking hard by Broadcom because Broadcom is using tactics that should manifestly be fucking illegal under American law, right? The CEO of Broadcom should be getting fucking ass raped in prison for the next 2 decades, right? But instead of that, motherfucker's gonna take a bonus home because apparently when you do illegal type shit in the technology world, it's A-okay. And so that's going to be one of the issues too, is again, Fidelity is going to be a little gun shy. Like, I don't know, do we really trust this vendor? We thought we trusted the last vendor. Again, the last vendor was fucking VMware. You have heard me complain a lot about a lot of companies. You've heard me complain about fucking every company. You've never heard me say shit about VM, because VMware's fine. Like, well, it was fine. It was like, what the fuck was there to say about VMware? Like, you might like one product better than another. Maybe one of their products had a pretty high price point compared to somebody else. But like what the fuck do you say about It's fucking VMware. Buy it, don't buy it. Who cares? Right? That's the vendor they went with. And now they're getting screwed over. Quote, the only way to prevent this irreparable harm is intervention by this court, the suit pleads. Fidelity uses software to scale operations for its 50 million individual customers and 28,000 corporate clients with a combined $16 trillion, right? For its part, Fidelity began in 2005 using a VMware product known as vSphere. And so that's one of the things with this too. Again, we talk about legacy. They started using VMware in 2005. Right? A lot of people did. As its primary virtualization software today, the same software allows, quote, the same software, quote, allows the company to create, host, and manage virtual servers on its physical servers. In November 2023, Fidelity claims it signed 2 contracts to access the software prior to Broadcom's acquisition, including a subscription for its software that was set to expire December 22 this year. Broadcom closed a $68 I think $1 billion, was it million? Anyways, VMware acquisition the same month and made radical changes to its product offerings. Fidelity contends that VMware's core virtualization products, including vSphere and at least 167 other products, were repackaged into 2 expensive bundles. Then Broadcom, quote, forced mandatory subscription, according to a Computer World magazine. On March 27th, Fidelity's tech group sent a letter to Broadcom and VMware to notify them that it was exercising its right to renew the software under its existing contract. So Fidelity thought that they had the right. So that's one of the things too, right? Well, a new company buys it. Fidelity had their license for however long. Look, your license expires. You got to deal with whatever the new license is, right? But one of the things I talk about in the business world is getting contracts, these agreements, right? You don't want to get to that problem, right? You don't want to lock yourself into a vendor and then have no security on the other side, right? You don't want to have to get chucked off the product, right? And so the idea here is basically what they're saying is they had a right to renew the software under the existing contract. That was something that was negotiated in with that original agreement that they had. And now Broadcom was just like, no. Oh, did you think you negotiated something with this company? Oh, no. What? No. What do you mean? No. But a month later, Broadcom refused to honor Fidelity's existing contractual right to renew its subscription. So yeah, we are going to be seeing more of this out of the VMware Broadcom shit show. For the life of me, I have no idea why that fucking CEO isn't getting rammed every goddamn night in federal fucking prison, right? Again, this is one of the problems we have with our society. It is not necessarily capitalism itself. It's very selective on how rules and laws are implemented. And something that's very important to understand is, for some reason, with a computer is a get out of jail card for doing things that in any other circumstance would be a fucking felony, right? But anyways, so that's what we got going on now. If you haven't heard about this before, again, if you're new in the tech world, just let me just say, VMware used to be solid. Like, you have never heard me snark about VMware because there wasn't much to snark about, right? If you didn't like the price, I get it, but it was a pretty reasonable price. They were pretty damn good products. Again, there's quirks as the technology world, but there wasn't much to say about VMware. It's like, you need virtualization? VMware is a pretty good solution, right? And one of the issues is Broadcom came in, they bought VMware, and now basically, right, the idea here is instead of pushing out better products and solutions to sell to the next generation of customers, what they're trying to do is they're basically trying to metaphorically fucking extort the poor, stupid bastards that would have ever trusted those motherfuckers to begin with. And it will be curious to see what the fallout of this is. Again, as I say, like with VMware, with a lot of this, like when we start talking about at scale, it's very easy to underestimate what scale we're talking about. For these folks, at scale is actually really, really, really large. And so if they lose access to VMware's, offerings, it's not just Fidelity that's going to have an issue. It might even be, the entire global equities market that might run into a bit of an issue. So yeah, this will be curious going forward. Again, it's these whole things like these single points of failures that we're seeing, right? I just did a video talking about Cloudflare. Cloudflare fucked up, half the internet goes down. Right? VMware, Broadcom does something asininely stupid. Everybody that was stupid enough to trust VMware and to trust Broadcom, they're now getting screwed. Right? I think this is something to be thinking about. Again, we talk about things like risk tolerance, right? A lot of times nowadays I talk about risk, with do you go with the American stack of something, or do you go with the Chinese stack of something, especially with AI? Do you do open source? Do you do proprietary? One of the things you have to really be thinking about now is a lot of these companies out there are just going to start trying to squeeze the blood out of you. The problem is a lot of these tech stacks, there's nothing wrong with it, but they kind of come to their dead end. Right? You can go a long way, right? You can go 95, right? You go I-95 in the United States. And I-95 is long. What is like 2,000 miles? I don't know, 1,500 to 2,000 miles? That's a long fucking interstate. But at some point, you hit mile marker 1 down in Key West, and there's the ocean. just can't go any further. Right? It's not that there's some fundamental problem with the interstate. It's just it went as far as it went, right? I think that's one of the issues we're going to be seeing with a lot of this technology. Again, you think about things like virtualization technology or storage technology or these database technologies. They've more or less, don't get me wrong, they've more or less gone as far as they're going to go. And so the problem is, if there's not new sexy, products and solutions coming down the pike for these companies to be able to get outsized profits from, then basically what they start looking at is how to squeeze the money out of anybody who's still locked into their systems. And so that's going to be a big thing to be thinking about with your risk tolerance. And so that's where, for a long time, if you're designing your architecture, going with a single vendor actually made a lot of sense, right? If you go with a single vendor, it's one tech stack. They create tools for their particular products. Those tools are probably going to work pretty well for those particular products, and it's just easier, right? When you scale, when you grow, you just buy more license from that vendor. Why learn new products? Why figure out the quirks of new products? Why have divergent tech stacks within your own corporation? Just did it make a lot of sense? I think going forward, like when we start looking at the 2030s, it might actually start to make a lot of sense to look at your core stacks and actually within your organization start actually diversifying those stacks, right? Maybe put some departments on one stack, other departments on another. That then gives you institutional knowledge on how to interact with both stacks. You learn how to transfer data and communicate back and forth. And then if one of the vendors just decides to be a bag of dicks, the way they do sometimes, that gives you a lot easier path for trying to get out from under that weight than if you have to start from square one. I've talked about that before, where people used to ask me, Eli, what virtualization certification do I get? And as I said, what does your company use? Right? So you might have experts, right? Like Fidelity. The Fidelity, I guarantee you, has experts in VMware. Well, the problem is if you go over to Citrix, or I don't know, how well does Hyper-V scale? I don't know if Hyper-V scales that well. Anyways, you go over to Citrix, you go over to some other provider. The issue is there's just different commands. It's just simply a different product. You interact with it slightly different. Even though it does the same thing, like how you interact with it is going to be how you manage and administer it, the dashboards you get, all that kind of crap is going to be different. And so, that's the kind of issue that you're going to run into. So anyway, what do you think about this? What do you think about Broadcom? Opinions down below. How big is the bag of dicks? Is it a bag of dicks? Is it a dump truck of dicks? Is it a skyscraper of dicks? How many dicks makes up a Broadcom? Anyways, what do you think about this VMware? I mean, did you ever have much to snark about with VMware? I mean, other than the normal stupid shit. Is this rather horrifying to you? I don't know. Put your thoughts down below. If you like these videos, give us a thumbs up. If you hate these videos, give us a thumbs down. Call me amazing. Call me a dumbass. Just be a real Lutnick and put your comment down below. Do you remember I scream about the technology world so I can fund Silicon Dojo, authoritatively gatekeeperless, free to end user hands-on technology education that empowers you to do whatever the hell it is you want to do. We just had a class last night in Durham, North Carolina on AI and web scraping. We're going to have a class on extending AI capabilities with REST APIs in a couple of weeks. After that, we're going to do a computer vision or AI-powered vision for your projects using something called Moondream. If you're interested in those, take a look at silicondojo.com to look for our current schedule. If you want to support the things that I do, there's a donor box link down below. And with that, see y'all later.